Hello, everyone. Welcome back once again. I am Nicodemus Kane. Today is January the 24th, 2023. It is a Tuesday, and I am definitely feeling it today. Yesterday was a long day at work, and then it seemed like I didn't get enough rest after work, and then I didn't get enough sleep after that. So I had another one of those dreams, though. It's weird. It happens every now and then. It's like, I call them my Metallica dreams. I know it sounds stupid, but for whatever reason, it's I have them every now and then where it's like I am either hanging out or playing with Metallica. It's weird. I don't know. It started when I was a teenager. I don't know why, but it may every 3 or 4 months. Last night I had a Metallica dream. It's probably the first one I ever had where I was like on the stage in front of just like a massive ton of people. It's just weird stuff. Anyways, because yes, I used to be a musician. I play guitar. I play very bad guitar, but I play guitar. And, did. I haven't picked it up in almost 2 years. But, yeah, I just don't know what it is. I just call them my Metallica dreams. So I'm just hanging out with the band. I don't know. Sometimes there's some bigger insight into it. Usually the thing that we're doing is, something that is going on in my life, and other times, it's not. I don't know. I usually say when I have my Metallica dreams that I have to pay attention to what was happening at the time, because they usually mean something. Sometimes they don't, but I would say a majority of the time they mean something. So maybe it means something. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. It was very weird. It's a very, very weird. So, because of that, and because I am a little beat up from yesterday and a little tired, I'm a little down. I'm a little lower than I usually am, I guess. You could say that. Not too much I would really want to get into as far as current events, things that are happening out in the world. I didn't really pay much attention yesterday. It was a long, hard work day, which meant that I was constantly focused on work, not much else. I did watch what is it? I didn't like the channel at first. It's Mind Unveiled, I think it's what it is, on YouTube. He had really good channels, or he had really good videos at first, but then he started going into this like new age, weirdy thought process. And it was so bad to the point that I had to stop watching. So bad to the point that I just unsubscribed. But he's had a couple of them recently that YouTube suggested to me again, about old photos being faked, which I had never knew. I knew that all photos could be retouched, but never like that. And it was interesting to watch. But then that led into the Cabbage Patch Kid postcards. And I'm not talking about the 80s Cabbage Patch Kids. I'm talking about from the 1860s all the way through to the 1930s. There was a belief, for whatever reason, that children were grown in cabbage patches. Now, apparently, it's similar to the concept of the stork bringing babies to parents, they call up the baby factory, and the stork brings a baby. It's the childhood tale that you tell everybody. But this is for adults. This is an adult story for adults, where they grow children in cabbage patches and then they deliver them on storks. Or you can go to the cabbage patch directly and pick one out. It's really, really weird. It's bizarre. And the more you follow that hole down, the more you really look into it for yourself, the weirder it gets. And I can understand how that would happen, how that understanding would be, because people, it's a meme. It's a meme is what happened, is that, somebody somewhere got somebody else into thinking that, they grow in cabbage patches, and then people started making images of it. And it was a postcard meme back in the day. And it caught on. But it spread a lot. And for something that was, when you're talking about putting it in the context of orphan trains, child labor, of this reset that may have happened in the 1800s, when you put it into that kind of context, it starts taking on this kind of weird understanding. When you start hearing about the incubators, whole buildings of incubators for premature babies, the first questions I have to ask is, what is happening to the mothers that are having these children? Why do we have to have rows and rows of incubators for premature babies? What exactly was happening that caused people to feel the need for these things? And there are pictures of these buildings, incubator buildings, where they had rows of incubators lined up in the front to pose for a picture. And he was talking about, there was one doctor in particular that was doing tests on premature babies, putting it in the incubator and keeping it in there, and they were growing faster and stronger and bigger than normal kids. That just within, I don't remember exactly what he said, a couple months of being in the incubator, these babies were appearing as if they were 8 years old. Because I'm going to guess because of the oxygen-rich environment. We've talked about this, is that you pump enough oxygen into a container that you will not only, what are they called? The oxygen chambers that sports people get into whenever they're injured. It's something about the oxygen that not only heals you, but makes you stronger, makes you bigger. There was an oxygen-rich environment in the world a long time ago, pre-flood. Therefore, all the people, all the animals, all the plants, everything was bigger. 4 times at least. We have like imprints of dragonflies that have a 4-foot wingspan. You talk about woolly mammoths, you talk about dinosaurs, which are just big, they're just giant lizards. That's all they are. They're just giant lizards. We talk about the bones that we see of abnormally large people. You have the stories, you have the myths and the legends. They talk about these things. So when this Mind Unveiled, when this channel was talking about, there was a doctor in the 1930s that was experimenting with these incubators, and he was putting babies into them, and they were growing. 2, 3, 4 times the size they should be. That's interesting. There's something going on there. I don't know what to say about it other than it's weird. It's weird stuff. But it's like the Cabbage Patch things. I mean, I can get that, yeah, a head of cabbage kind of looks like the female genitalia. I can get that. I can get that a rose as it blossoms is like a female genitalia. I can get that, because they were saying that, baby boys come from cabbage patches and baby girls come from roses. That was another thing that they were talking about too. But it's just weird. And I don't know how that meme got started, and I don't know why. It's strange to think, though, that they went back to that in the 80s. Like, they wanted to bring that meme back into our understanding for whatever reason with Cabbage Patch Kids, Of course, then you're talking about the Garbage Pail Kids, and I never really thought about the Garbage Pail Kids as being anything more than just, whatever. It's just, silly, goofy, stupid card sets that everybody had. But I never really thought of them as being evil until I really looked at it when he was showing them, and I started thinking, that is evil. You're taking kids. I don't care if you're taking the Cabbage Patch dolls. It's the concept that you're taking children and you're doing all of these heinous things to them. I mean, some of those Garbage Pail Kid cards are graphic. I never thought about that. I do now. I'm old enough and wise enough, and God has lifted the veil off of my eyes that I can see it, and it's terrible. But it just follows along with that same old, everything is a lie. Everything is a lie meant to confuse and harm us. And just some things that happen in this world that we have no idea. This was just 100 years ago. This Cabbage Patch Kid phenomenon was happening 100 years. And we don't even know about it. Nobody talks about it. We don't know why it started. We don't know how it became a meme. Why was it that a folk tale, something that you tell children whenever they ask, where do babies come from? Why was it being marketed to adults? It's just very strange. It's just very strange. It just something to think about. And of course, then it was a continuing video. It went from the Cabbage Patch Kids to there was a couple movies that were made back then about, Cabbage Patch Kids, going and buying Cabbage Patch Kids. That kind of bled over into some other stuff. And then he did a video about Christmas, going over every single legend that he could find, and just more and more and more. I listen to these things and just I think he had said it too in his video that it seems like they have gone out of their way to convince us. Like they made these things. They make these things up in order to manipulate us and convince us into following them for whatever reason, whatever nefarious reason possible. Now, I have had my own opinions about Christmas, and we've talked about it a couple different times, a couple of different videos. But after hearing what he said, whether it's true or not, Whether, half the things that, he had found are true or not, that's stuff that I would have to go look up for myself. But I know most of it to be true anyways. But after hearing it, I could be convinced that yes, the devil is not playing fair. No one ever said Satan was going to play fair. God told him to try and test his children to see if they are worthy of going past Satan's schemes, to see if they could fall for it. So he's doing everything in his power to trick you and convince you into worshiping anything besides the Most High. And I see that now. It's so dark and disturbing and just, it's a lot, man. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to take in, especially for people that wouldn't know. Because I've been down this path. I've been down this path, and I've seen things that I shouldn't be seeing, and I've understood things that I probably should never have understood. But I've been down this path. But when you get to the end, it's like it was about 5 or 6 years ago for me. When you get to the end and you just realize that it's all part of the same evil system, simply meant to harm and destroy you, that they purposely do it. Something inside of your brain just snaps, and you want to do everything in your power to stop it, to fight it, and if you can't fight it or stop it or get rid of it, or show other people how they are being manipulated, then you eventually break down, fall to your knees, and you pray to God and you say, Father, I see it now. I am so sorry for everything that I have done, and I am so sorry for being so gullible, for having fallen for it. Because it's a trap. It's those traps and snares. It's the same thing that Psalms was talking about. It's the same thing that Isaiah was talking about. It's the same thing that Jeremiah talks about. They refuse to hear the truth. They refuse to hear the truth because they are taking pleasure in living this lie. And that throughout time, there are wicked men in high places that only want the baseline of society, the normies, to follow along, and they will lay traps and they will lay snares in order to convince the world to follow after them. It's a total system of control. Total and absolute. These people have had more than 4,000 years to be able to concoct the perfect control system, the perfect control grid. They've had 4,000 years to do this. And now they have us. And Satan doesn't play fair. He will use every means possible. The Bible says, be diligent. Use discernment. Come out of this world. Do not follow the broad way that leads to destruction. But more and more and more, every single day, I see it over and over again. People. Who was it? I don't know why I saw a tweet from Jordan Peterson, because I don't listen to Jordan Peterson. But I saw, he said something about atheists unknowingly follow the God Pan. Which is true. It's absolutely true. If you consider yourself an atheist, you're following after false gods, whether you know it or not. And I had to say it. Even devout Christians will unknowingly worship Satan and practice witchcraft. Because everything we know, everything that we understand is a lie. It's a trap. It's a snare. It's something to pull you away from God. Everything. Every single little thing. And people want to argue with me about the commandments. You can't argue with me about the commandments. You don't even know what the rules are. You don't even know the baseline rules of this world, and you wanna argue with me about what is the law and what is not the law. If I should be worried about Christmas. You shouldn't be worried. You should be worried about everything. Everything. Even the food you eat, you should be worried about it. It is time for us to admit to ourselves that we need to fundamentally change our lives in order to be able to come out of this mess. I have to. It's time. It's also time that I read some of this book. I just needed to get all that out, though. I mean, that was what I walked away with yesterday. You know, just feeling tired and, you know, drained from work. And not only that, but just having that concept of everything is a lie. Even if 25% of everything that I saw on that video was true, 25, even if it's 25%, even if 25% of anything I say is true, then you've got way bigger problems than you think you have. Man, we have to understand where we are. Some people may disagree whenever I say that this is the season of Satan, but holy smokes, this seems like it's the season of Satan. God will send strong delusion because they chose not to hear the truth, because they chose to live in their own unrighteousness. Anyways, I got Jeremiah chapter 34 here. And it hurts my mind. It really it hurts to think that you just can't reach some of them, you know? You want everybody to see it. You want everybody to understand it and see it. And some people just, they refuse. God has said that He will let them have that. He has told us to let them have that. It is not us. It is not up to us. It's up to us to plant seeds, to bring a second witness, to do our best to give them good understanding so that they can pull out of it. But if they don't want to pull out of it, and the best example I have over and over again is my mother. She wouldn't hear it. She wouldn't hear it. I tried. I absolutely tried with her. She just would not hear it. She wanted to see. She told me she was reading her Bible again, which was good because she must have seen some kind of change in me that she needed to understand. But most of the times, everything she ever talked to me about it was trying to understand why I was pulling out of this world. she was still stuck in this world. She still thought that the things of this world were just fine. They meant nothing, that she was okay. And I kept trying to tell her, but I don't want to live in the lie anymore. Why would you want to continue to live in the lie of this world just to make yourself feel better? And of course, she never had an answer for it. Right? That was probably about as far as it would get before she would just she'd glaze over, just like everybody else. It's that glazed over look. And, but that's always my perfect example. Just no matter how much I tried to talk to her, she just wouldn't hear it. I talk about my father. He just told me to quit talking about it. He doesn't want to hear it at all. He doesn't. I mean, I can bring certain things to him, and you can see his brain turning, but he doesn't want to hear any of it. He has completely shut himself down from having any possible understanding whatsoever, and that's sad too. I have nobody. I have my wife. That's it. I have my wife and maybe 10 people, maybe less than that, 5 people that listen to these videos. You know, there's so few of us. And even if I found other people, it may or may not be arguments of, well, you're wrong on this, you're wrong on that. I've had that. I thought I found people that could actually help me, to show me, to help me understand things. And it just turned out to be somebody that said, well, you get to do this because, God let us have this. Christ did all these sacrifices for us so that we could have all these things. So Christ sacrificed himself for us so that we could be saved out of this world. Not so that we can go out and be back in this world. See, you don't even get it at all. Well, no, because that's not how it works. Because I have 30 plus years of pastoring behind me. I know how this works. Okay, then read the Bible again, man. What the... I gotta stop. It's always a contradiction. It's always one thing or another, and I can sit there and argue, and they just will not listen. You get so wrapped up in this world, and you think that you're holy for being wrapped up in this world, and it's like, no, you're not. Your Bible goes out of its way to tell you to stop doing these things, to get out of this world, to come out of this world, to not follow the ways of wicked men. It goes out of its way to tell you this. And you're going to tell me that Christ died on the cross so that we can take everything in this book and throw it out the window so that we can live in this world? Christ died on the cross so that we can do all of the sins that all of the people that before us did, and it'll be okay? Is that what you're telling me? I gotta stop. Jeremiah 34. We gotta read it. I can't. Hypocrisy. Jeremiah 34. Let me compose myself. Get a little righteous anger. Got a little righteous anger. Your righteous anger is showing there, buddy. Yeah, I know. Well, what do you want? I've heard some of the stupidest things from some of what I thought were some of the smartest people. That's just Jeremiah 34. The word which came unto Jeremiah from the Lord, when Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon, and all his army, and all the kingdoms of the earth of his dominion, and all the people fought against Jerusalem, and against all the cities thereof, saying, Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, Go and speak to Zedekiah king of Judah, and tell him, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will give this city into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he shall burn it with fire. And thou shalt not escape out of his hand, but shalt surely be taken and delivered into his hand. And thine eyes shall behold the eyes of the king of Babylon, and he shall speak with thee mouth to mouth, and thou shalt go to Babylon. Yet hear the word of the Lord, O Zedekiah king of Judah. Thus saith the Lord of thee, Thou shalt not die by the sword. I had a little hiccup there, sorry. And so thus saith the Lord of thee, Thou shalt not die by the sword, but thou shalt die in peace, and with the burnings of thy fathers, the former kings which were before thee. So shall they burn odors for thee, and they will lament thee, saying, Ah, Lord, for I have pronounced the word, saith the Lord. Then Jeremiah the prophet spake all these words unto Zedekiah king of Judah in Jerusalem, when the king of Babylon's army fought against Jerusalem, and against all the cities of Judah that are left, against Lachish, and against Azekah, and against Azekah, for these defense cities remained of the cities of Judah. So this is yet again Jeremiah being imprisoned in the, did it say it was in the courtyard of the king of Judah? He was holding him either way. He was imprisoned by the king of Judah. And we already said the first time, while he was in prison, God told him to buy the land, and it was a way of saying, the men of Judah will come back and they will buy the land and they will make it, it's desolate now, but they'll turn it into something good. The last one was the last chapter was pretty much the same thing, is that he will bring everybody back into the cities, and they will be glad there again. He says it will happen that way, but again, you're going to be taken into captivity, or you're going to die. If you fight back, what's going to happen? You're going to die. That's what God has said over and over again. So, of course, the kingdom of Judah was one of those that they were going to fight. God said, if you get taken into captivity, you're going to be okay. You just got to live through, so many years, live through so many generations. Just go down there, do what they tell you to do. Do not break the covenant. Do not break the law, but be subjected to them. Okay. Sorry, I had to take a second on that one too. Be subjected to them, but do not break the law of God, because God will take care of you. He said in the end, you make it through this, you can come back into the land and, I'll multiply you again. Everything will be just fine. You have to have patience and faith. So now he's saying, you didn't want to listen then, you didn't want to listen the other time. Well, guess what? Now it's time. So, starting back at the top, the word which came unto Jeremiah from the Lord, when Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon and all his army, and all the kingdoms of the earth of his dominion, all the kingdoms of the earth of his dominion, not just the little tiny pocket that was just around, where it was, because you have to remember the maps that they show you, where they say, well, this is the kingdom of Babylon, and it was just this little tiny pocket that was, maybe around the continent of, the one portion of the continent of Asia or something, and, the rest of the world is just sitting there doing nothing. Your Bible's telling you all the kingdoms of the earth of his dominion. There's other places where we've seen too that it is said that, the whole world was being run by such and such a person. We're talking about going to the Isles, the far off Isles. We're talking about going to all these different places. It could go both ways. I'm just saying that right now. It could be that we're just talking about, this little spot where we know they were. But I personally have the feeling, because we've seen all of these places in North America and in South America, places that were before the birth of Christ, that were builded up. They may or may not be there. We don't, they may or may not have been there. We don't know. But we do know that there was stuff here. There were people here. There are tales of peoples that lived here. That it was possible for the Babylonians, for the Egyptians, for the Assyrians, for all of them, it was possible for them to sail across the ocean. To hear somebody tell you, no, they didn't want to sail across the ocean because they just didn't have the boats, that's a lie. They had the boats. They could very easily have gone across the ocean. But no, they wanted to stay because they didn't want to go over the ocean. Why? Go the sea serpents. Sea serpents are in the ocean. We don't want... No, that's ridiculous. That's the most ridiculous thing I've heard. At worst, it would be because it was a rough ride. But no, I absolutely believe that they at least tried. If they didn't sail, straight across, they would have at least tried to go up and around. But we found artifacts in the United States, Egyptian, Babylonian, Chinese, Japanese, all kinds of stuff. It was worldwide. This was an absolutely worldwide thing. So when I hear stuff like that, I tend to have to believe it. You don't have to believe it. It doesn't. It's not going to affect anybody's salvation. But when you get that into your brain that maybe, you can't come back to me and say, well, no, see, because the historians say this and this and that. And, well, you have to start with a blank slate. You can't just automatically assume that the historians know what they're talking about, or if they are even lying to you. Well, historians wouldn't do that. Yes, historians would do that. All I need to do is point you to the guy, what is his name? Azari, whatever it is. The Egyptian, the head of the Egyptian museum or whatever it is. That, he's always on all the History Channel things or whatever. Let me point you to him. Let you, listen to what he tells you about Egyptian antiquity. And you tell me if historians are lying or not. Because that man, boy, he makes up some stories. But seriously, though, they changed your calendar. They changed your calendars. They changed your holidays. Everything you know is a lie. And you're going to tell me that you think the historians are telling you the truth? Come on now. If you're on this channel, you're not believing the truths of this world anyway. So you have to have some kind of understanding that we have to come at this with a blank slate. Nothing we know is true, and everything that you read and everything that somebody tells you is simply a belief until you can prove it to be true. Just keep that in mind as well. All his army and all the kingdoms of the earth of his dominion, maybe it's just talking about of his dominion, I don't know, and all the people fought against Jerusalem and against all the cities thereof, saying, Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, Go and speak to Zedekiah king of Judah, and tell him, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will give this city into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he shall burn it with fire, because you decided that you didn't want to listen to me. And thou shalt not escape out of his hand, but shalt surely be taken and delivered into his hand. And thine eyes shall behold the eyes of the king of Babylon, and he shall speak with thee mouth to mouth, and thou shalt go to Babylon. Basically meaning he himself will want this city so bad, he will come to see you. It's not like he's going to be in some tent somewhere. He is going to walk right up into your palace. It's the biggest insult that you can have for a king. I used to have a game. What's the name of that game? It wasn't Crossbows and Catapults. It was something else. Maybe it was. I don't know. But they, in the instructions, it said something along the lines of the biggest. It wasn't insult. They used another word, but pretty much the biggest insult that a king could have is for another king to walk right up into his front gate. I'm gonna take a drink of water. Hold on. And I always kept that in mind, especially if you're playing chess. I used to like to try to do that when I was a kid. I don't do it anymore because it's just a stupid thing, but to try to slowly walk your king, protected by your pieces, slowly walk your king over to the other side of the board. And if you can put your king on the same line as their king, that's got to be like the biggest insult in the world. Just like, look what I did. Come on, look what I did. What's up? Seriously, though. This is what this is telling him. You're going to lose everything. This king of Babylon's going to walk right in here. He's going to look you right in the eye, and he's going to tell you, I won. Verse 4, Yet hear the word of the Lord, O Zedekiah, king of Judah. Thus saith the Lord of thee, Thou shalt not die by the sword, but thou shalt die in peace, and with the burnings of thy fathers, the former kings which were before thee. So shall they burn odors for thee. And they will lament thee, saying, Ah, Lord, for I have pronounced the word, saith the Lord. So you will not die by the sword, because you will be taken, and you will not fight back. Your city will be burned, your people will be saved, because I told you this, that you will go into captivity, and you will spend X amount of years there. 70 years was what we saw. You're gonna go through 3 kings. You're gonna have children, and their children are gonna have children, and they're gonna want to come back. They're gonna be done with the captivity nonsense, and they're gonna do everything in their power to do what I say, and I will bring them back into the land. That's basically been the whole gist of the past, I don't know what, maybe 8-9 chapters. Verse 6, Then Jeremiah the prophet spake all these words unto Zedekiah, king of Judah, in Jerusalem, when the king of Babylon's army fought against Jerusalem, and against all the cities of Judah that were left, including Lachish, and including Azekah, for these defense cities remained of the cities of Judah. Verse 8, This is the word that came unto Jeremiah from the Lord, after that the king Zedekiah had made a covenant with all the people which were at Jerusalem, to proclaim liberty unto them, that every man should let his manservant, and every man his maidservant, being an Hebrew or an Hebrewess, go free, that none should serve himself of them, to wit, of a Jew his brother. Now when all the princes and all the people which had entered into the covenant heard that every one should let his manservant and every one his maidservant go free, that none should serve themselves of them any more, then they obeyed and let them go. But afterward they turned and caused the servants and the handmaids whom they had let go free to return, and brought them into subjection for servants and for handmaids. Some people, man. Some people. Back up to verse 8. This is the word that came unto Jeremiah from the Lord, after that the king Zedekiah had made a covenant with all the people which were at Jerusalem, to proclaim liberty unto them. So this is God telling Jeremiah to tell Zedekiah, this is what you need to tell the people before before all of this happens, before they get taken into captivity themselves. I have got the burps today, man. We had we had some nasty ass hamburger helper last night. I know we shouldn't be eating it, but we did. That's what we had, and I'm feeling it today. Might be why my rhythms are so off too. The only reason we did it was because, we just needed a quick meal. I know we shouldn't be eating that junk, but we inherited like 4 boxes of it from my mom's house. It was like, what are we gonna have to eat tonight? Well, we gotta eat this food. I know, it's bad. It's bad, it's terrible. Verse 9. That every man should let his manservant and every man his maidservant, being in Hebrew or in Hebrews, go free. That none should serve himself of them, to wit, of a Jew his brother. So basically it's saying, we're not going to let our own people be slaves to us. That you're going to have to let them go free because you're going into captivity anyways. So you can't take your slaves. You can't be a slave and have a slave underneath you. So verse 10, now when all the princes and all the people which had entered into the covenant heard that every one should let his manservant and every one his maidservant go free, that none should serve themselves of them any more, then they obeyed and let them go. There you go. They let them go. They did exactly what they're supposed to do. But, there's actually a but in there. But afterward, they turned and caused the servants and the handmaids whom they had just let go free to return and brought them into subjection for servants and for handmaids. What, some people. What are you doing? It's like getting pulled out of Egypt, and the first thing you do is you start bitching and moaning about it, Like, God's going to take care of you. And you're just going to be like, no, I want to go back. I didn't like it there, but I don't like it here even more. It's like, give me a break. Verse 12. Therefore the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, I made a covenant with your fathers in the day that I brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondmen, saying, At the end of 7 years let ye go every man his brother in Hebrew, which hath been sold unto thee, and when he hath served thee 6 years, thou shalt let him go free from thee. But your fathers hearkened not unto me, neither inclined their ear. And ye were now turned, and had done right in my sight, in proclaiming liberty every man to his neighbor. And ye had made a covenant before me in the house which is called by my name. But ye turned and polluted my name, and caused every man his servant, and every man his handmaid, whom ye had set at liberty at their pleasure, to return, and brought them into subjection, to be unto you for servants and for handmaids. Therefore thus saith the Lord, Ye have not hearkened unto me, in proclaiming liberty, every one to his brother, and every man to his neighbor. Behold, I proclaim a liberty for you, saith the Lord, to the sword, to the pestilence, and to the famine, and I will make you to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And I will give the men that have transgressed my covenant, which have not performed the words of the covenant which they had made before me, when they cut the calf in twain, and passed between the parts thereof, the princes of Judah and the princes of Jerusalem, the eunuchs and the priests and all the people of the land, which passed between the parts of the calf. I will even give them into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of them that seek their life. And their dead bodies shall be for meat unto the fowls of the heaven, and to the beasts of the earth. And Zedekiah king of Judah and his princes will I give into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of them that seek their life, and into the hand of the king of Babylon's army, which are gone up from you. Behold, I will command, saith the Lord, and cause them to return to this city, and they shall fight against it, and take it, and burn it with fire, and I will make the cities of Judah a desolation, without an inhabitant. Alright, I am going to take another drink of water, and we will definitely talk about that. I think not only will I take a drink of water, I might take a nose break too. Hold on. I finally did clean up the room, by the way. I was talking about it last week, about how dirty the floor was getting, and I actually swept the floor. It's not bad in here. You can tell that I'm not sneezing, and, my allergies aren't off the wall like they usually are. So I did a good thing. I did a lot better thing than, the way it was. Because it was pretty bad there. I think I was sneezing like every single day I'd come in here, and my allergies are just off the charts. But anyways. Alright, so let's just go ahead and read this instead of me trying to tell you what it says, because it's pretty well self-explanatory, to be fair. So back up to verse 12, all the way to verse 12. Therefore the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, I made a covenant with your fathers in the day that I brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondmen, saying, I brought your fathers out of slavery. And I told them, At the end of 7 years, let ye go every man his brother an Hebrew, which hath been sold unto thee. And when he hath served thee 6 years, thou shalt let him go free from thee. But your fathers hearken not unto me, neither incline their ear. And so, of course, it's one of the laws. It's, on every 7th year that you not only release the slaves, but you release debts. If somebody can't pay back a debt within a certain time, then you were released from it. Some people have said, back then, having a debt meant that you were in slavery. Not just metaphorically, but literally. When you owed a debt to somebody, you worked for them for X amount of years, and then when your debt was paid off, then you went free. So that's what this is. It's that after 7 years, you have to release that debt. You have to release your brother, so that nobody gets pulled. Because after 7 years, you should be back on your feet for paying somebody some money anyways. If you give something to somebody within that year, like let's just say you let your brother borrow $5,000. That that's $5,000. That's a lot of money. But you had to take it out of your savings. You gave it to your brother, and you didn't have that savings, so you had to worry about that savings for that whole time. And maybe your brother paid back a little bit here and there, but within those 6 years that he owed you that money, that he might have slowly paid you back, you were building your money back up. You were building your savings back up. So at that 7th year, he's like, well, I paid $3,000 back from it. Well, you've already saved up, another $3,000 or $4,000 since then. So release your brother. Just say it's okay. It's cool. Go for it. I'm good, You got some of your money back, plus you were saving that entire time in it, so you're fine. I mean, something may have happened, and you may have needed that money, but if you didn't need the money, just you let your brother go. But, of course, this says, "But your fathers hearkened not unto me, neither inclined their ear." They decided to go ahead and keep their people enslaved under them, because it was far easier for them to keep people as slaves than it was to let them go and to actually pay somebody to do it for them. That's life. That is, unfortunately, that is life. That is the way people are. I was thinking about this the other day about technology and all of these things that technology was supposed to do for us. It was supposed to help us do this and do that, and the dream was that when all this technology came in, and it's still the dream that everybody seems to think is happening, but we're finding out that it's not. The dream is that when all this technology happens and mankind doesn't have to work so much, that mankind will find other pursuits. That they will want to study more. They will want to explore more. They will want to find other things to do. But we're finding that's not the case. We're finding out that the more that people don't have to work, the more that people don't have to do the things that they have to do to survive, they just rather lay around and do nothing. Now, of course, I definitely think that's a part of the system. They want people lazy and fat and not able to go out and work, and they want you distracted on your phone, they want you distracted on TV, they want you distracted on all these places. But I also think it's human nature. It's human nature to be lazy. It's human nature to be to not want to do anything, to not pursue those places. If it weren't human nature, your Bible wouldn't have to tell you to go hunt these things out. If it were human nature to naturally want to go out and find the truth of the world, and to find the truth of all things, and actually work to find knowledge, to find wisdom, your Bible wouldn't have to tell you to get out and find it. It wouldn't have to say, it's the glory of God to hide something. It's the honor of kings to search a thing out. Because we would all be looking for it, but we're not. It's in human nature to not do that. It's fighting back against human nature. It's fighting back against that beast in us. It's fighting back against man for us to go out and work, to really physically do something for ourselves. It's coming into my head right now about Cain and Abel. Cain went out whenever they were to bring when they were told to bring an oblation. There you go. When they were told to bring something to God, Cain went out and picked fruit off trees. He pulled food out of the field. He pulled food from wherever he could and brought it as a tribute. Abel brought an animal that he possibly raised up himself, that he loved and nurtured himself. He worked for that. In that he did what God thinks of as good works. Cain didn't do anything. Cain just pulled some apples off a tree. He just went out and pulled some fruit, you know. He was like, oh, he wants a tribute. Okay, well, I'll just go out and, you know. It's like picking flowers for your girlfriend. You know, it's like picking flowers from your girlfriend out of her front garden. That's exactly what it is. You know, you did the most minimal amount of effort in order to get rewarded for it. Hold on a second. All right. So, how do I get back to this? Where was I at? I'm lost now. It's like I went through all that stuff and now I can't find my way back to where I was to begin with. I'm sorry, I had to stop because I thought I was about ready to sneeze. Because once you blow that nose, you know, you get the how did I get on this thought process? What was the main thing that brought me back to this? It was Cain and Abel. It was working. Oh, it was talking about it's human nature just to want to do nothing with your life. You're going to be, you know, people would rather have other people working underneath them than to just do it themselves. So, especially people with money. People with money will go out of their way to keep others underneath them, simply because, you know, they don't have to lift a finger. But that's human nature. That's how it was. It's human nature for that. It's human nature to not do that stuff. And I think that's part of the whole Cain and Abel trip. That's how it was. Is that, you know, Abel brought an actual sacrifice, something that he actually worked for. Cain just went out and pulled stuff off of trees, pulled stuff out of the ground. That's why his sacrifice, that's why his tribute wasn't favored as well. It doesn't mean that God scoffed his favor. It's nothing. It says nothing. It just says that God felt that Abel did more. So that's whenever Cain got mad, the first act of revenge, killed his brother. That's human nature too. That's why we have to constantly fight against it. That's one of the biggest problems that we have, is that we have to fight against our own nature every single day. But most people are told, just do you. Just be you. Just do what you do. You know, follow your heart. Follow what it is that you want to do. Just do it. Whatever it is. This world wants you to be lost inside of your own human nature, your own faults. Because this world is wicked and cruel. It's just another one of those traps. This world doesn't want you to be better. It constantly wants you to fall down a pit and be hurt and destroyed. That's why we have to be careful. We have to absolutely be careful. But anyways, God brought him out of Egypt and told them on the seventh year, you let your brother go free if he's a servant to you. But your fathers hearken not to me, neither incline their ear. Verse 15, and ye were now turned, and had done right in my sight, in proclaiming liberty every man to his neighbor, And ye had made a covenant before me in the house which is called by my name. But ye turned and polluted my name, and caused every man his servant, and every man his handmaid, whom ye had set at liberty at their pleasure, to return, and brought them into subjection, to be unto you for servants and for handmaids. I told you to let them go, but you didn't listen. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, ye have not hearkened unto me in proclaiming liberty, every one to his brother, and every man to his neighbor. Behold, I proclaim a liberty for you, saith the Lord, to the sword, to the pestilence, and to the famine, and I will make you to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. Now that's cold. That's, I've seen this a couple times now, that when God really wants to stick it to you, boy, he'll stick it to you. Said you didn't want to proclaim liberty to your fellow brothers. Well, now you get to have the liberty. You get to have the liberty to die by the sword. You get to have the liberty of the pestilence. I mean, that's cold. God can be cold when he wants to. When he really wants to put the screws to you, he'll put the screws to you. Just the way it's written, it's just so good. I proclaim this liberty to you. Verse 18, and I will give the men that have transgressed my covenant, which have not performed the words of the covenant, which they had made before me, when they cut the calf in twain, and passed between the parts thereof. Now this is part of that law, that there is something in there that says you pass between the, and I don't know what it means, but I'm sure that somebody somewhere could probably be like, well, this is this is that. It's something to it, and I'm not going to get too far into it. But it's definitely something that's, when it was written, they would have known exactly what it meant. Verse 19, the princes of Judah and the princes of Jerusalem, the eunuchs and the priests and all the people of the land which passed between the parts of the calf, I will even give them into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of them that seek their life, and their dead bodies shall be for meat unto the fowls of the heaven, and to the beasts of the earth. And Zedekiah king of Judah and his princes, sorry, my nose. See, I told you, as soon as I did something to my nose, man, it'd start going crazy. And it's a nose hair is what it is. There's a nose hair and they're scratching. Where was I at? And all the people of the land which pass between the parts of the calf, verse 20, I will even give them into the hands of their enemies, and into the hands of them that seek their life. And their dead bodies shall be for meat unto the fowls of the heaven, and to the beasts of the earth. And Zedekiah king of Judah and his princes will I give into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of them that seek their life, and into the hand of the king of Babylon's army, which are gone up from you. Behold, I will command, saith the Lord, and cause them to return to this city, and they shall fight against it, and take it and burn it with fire. And I will make the cities of Judah a desolation without inhabitant. So basically, he told them, free your servants so that they can go into captivity for themselves, not just be taken with you because of you. It's bad enough you're going to be slaves, but you shouldn't be able to have slaves for yourself while you were in slavery. But it was saying, because you decided not to listen, you decided not to follow what I told you to do, you made the covenant and then you broke it. That because of that, I'm going to let king of Babylon, and I'm going to let all of his people, they're going to run right over you. You're not going to go into captivity. You're going to fall by the sword, by the pestilence, by the famine, all the stuff. You had a chance to be taken into captivity and to build something up for yourself while you were there. But because you decided to yet again break a covenant, and this is just about one thing. Think about that. They're breaking just one of the laws. God said, well then fine. What's it got to be like for everybody else that's breaking all of the laws, all of the commandments? It's just one of those things, just what are we doing to really follow what God wants us to do? Because he obviously wants us to do something. He keeps telling us. He wants us to do something. And the majority of people just don't want to follow it. So they're not going to follow it. Because there's a lot of people that say, well, I'm saved by Christ. I don't have to follow, I got my salvation already. I'm happy. Even though we've already gone through that over and over again. It's like that's not just, you can proclaim it and God will come in and he will change your heart and he will make you want to do better. But you can't just proclaim it and then walk away. You can't just say, I'm saved by God, I'm saved by Christ, and then walk away and be happy. Book tells you over and over again, you ask for forgiveness and you come out of the evil that you were causing. It's not, he doesn't want you, here, let me put it in context of the law, and then let me put it in context of just being under grace. He doesn't want you to make sacrifices to him. You don't make sacrifices if you haven't sinned. Therefore, when you don't sin, you don't have to make a sacrifice. You are saved by the perfect sacrifice of Christ. And because of that, everyone has the opportunity to call upon him, to ask him for salvation. But you have to accept that salvation by not sinning, by following what he wants you to do. You don't just get to proclaim it and then go out and be a whore. That's not how this works. You don't get to proclaim it and then go out and kill somebody. You don't get to proclaim it and then go out and lie to people and steal and cheat. It doesn't work that way. You have to come out of this world of evil. By not doing those things, you're following the commandments of God. That means that the commandments of God are still in effect. But there are so many people out there that will tell you, no, they're not. Well, yeah, they are. Because Christ himself said, if you backslide against what he tells you, you get turned away. It's not a given. Some people think it's a given. Some people think it's absolutely given. Oh, Christ said that he saved my heart. I'm free. I'm free from this evil world. I can do whatever I want. No. Even he had, what was it, up to possibly two 2,000 people following him at one point in time. And he spoke some hard words that they didn't like to hear. He spoke some things about following God that they didn't want to hear. And I have said there is a reason why it is called John chapter 6, verse 66. Is that they did not want to hear what he said. They did not want to follow what he said. And they turned away, and they did not walk with him ever again. It's the same as all of the Hebrews that we're talking about now. So God said, you will do this, but they chose not to listen. Well, you chose not to listen, you will fall by the hands of your enemies. I will take that salvation away from you. It's never a given. So it's just, again, it's a matter who you are you going to listen to? Are you going to read the Bible and follow what God says point blank to your face, or are you going to listen to a preacher who has a stake in all of this, usually simply for your money, because they eat a lot of that cash that comes into the church. They get to live free high on the hog because they're a preacher. I've seen the tax returns for some of these preachers. They get away with murder. They really, truly do. If it becomes more about making money than it does about your salvation, and if they tell you what you want to hear instead of what you need to hear, then they are false. They are false teachers. They are false prophets. They are simply out to make money off of your ignorance. And we see it over and over again with, prosperity gospel teachers. Sorry. We see it over and over again with prosperity gospel teachers, and we see it with all of the old televangelists. Even some of the modern guys. Even some of the Joe Schmo guys that are just out there. The ones that you think they have a good heart, that unfortunately have just gone through years upon years of the lies, that they just want to tell you how good and happy everything is. Don't worry, you'll be okay. They'll give you just enough. They'll give you just enough to think that, oh, maybe I should change. But then at the very end, they'll just say, well, now that that's all over with, let's go, celebrate some pagan ritual that we've been lied to. We've all been lied to, and we all need to come out of it. We all need to wake up to this, because it's so deep. The lies and manipulations are so deep now, we're drowning in it. I've said that before. We are drowning in lies now. Alright, one more time. Hold on. Alright, I'm blowing my nose way too much. I have to stop. I have to stop so I can get ready for work anyways. I don't have much else to say to end that on. I really don't. Be wary of false teachers, false prophets. Prove everything for yourself. Don't listen to me. I've said it. I don't know how many times I've said that now, over and over again. Don't listen to me. Find it out for yourself. And if you find out I'm wrong, then, you can always come back and talk to me about it. If I can prove it for myself, then I definitely will. But if not, then I'm sorry, but you've been misled. Just like everybody, there's so many people have been misled in this world. None of us know what anything really is anymore. Not even just about religious things. Even secular things. We don't know what's going on in the world anymore. We don't even know our own history. There's just so much now. There's just so much lies and deceptions. We have to be so careful. You have to be careful. With that being said, I love y'all. Take care of yourselves. God bless. I just had one of those moments where I was thinking, my former self kind of stopped and said, "What are you doing? what are you doing with this? Sitting here making videos about reading the Bible? What is this all about?" That's what I just had. Because again, if you would have told me this 5 years ago, I would have said you're nuts. I said you're crazy. I would be doing what now? This completely different person, completely different life. This is something else, man. The things I'm doing now are something else entirely from the person that I used to be. And I can only praise and thank the Father, the Most High, for opening my eyes to it, Really and truly. But I will talk to everyone later, and God bless. Have a good day.